Dr. Joe Abba.
Very quickly, today is the International Women's Day. What would you like to say, especially as regards women participation in politics?
I want to start by wishing all women a happy International Women's Day. I want to appreciate the tremendous contributions that our women make in our national life. So I want to start by wishing all our women a very happy International Women's Day. I want to appreciate all the contributions that our women make to our national life. Today is a day to recognize all of those contributions, and to thank them for everything that they do in our lives. Tomorrow is the governorship elections. Our women hold at least 50% of our votes. And so it's vitally important that they are able to come out tomorrow to exercise their rights, to choose their leaders, and also to hold their leaders to account after tomorrow's elections. I'm aware of a situation in Kano State where the women of Kano came together and actually presented to the governor the things they wanted to see in the budget of the state. That is the kind of thing I think we should be seeing more and more of. And I'm hopeful that our women will rise to the occasion and make their votes and their voices count.
Good afternoon. My name is Toyin Ajolore. May I meet you?
I'm Cynthia Mbamalo. I work with YAG Africa. I'm currently the project director for Watching the Votes project. I'm also the program manager for YAG Africa. I'm one of the leaders of the Not Too Young to Run movement. And I work basically to promote youth political participation, gender rights, and promote democratic development in Nigeria and beyond.
Fantastic. So as a woman, what would you like to see change about women participation in politics?
Well, I think one, maybe speaking as a Nigerian, I'm not pleased with the level of women participation. And if you look at even the elections, coming from the elections, you see the number of women candidates for the presidential and the state elections that will be going on tomorrow, on the 9th of March. And you see very low representation of women, less than 12% of the candidates are women. And this is a bit worrisome, because if you look at where we're coming from, you see the 8th Assembly, you had barely 6% representation in both houses of the National Assembly, not to mention the state assemblies. There are some states that had no female in the state assembly. Now, this is a worrisome trend, because in a country where women constitute almost half the population, it's worrisome that you don't have women representatives in government. This means that the face of government itself does not reflect the true society, because the face of government is the face of a man, and the society is made up of men and women. And as we celebrate International Women's Day, this is another call for us to start pushing for balance in government, call for Nigerians, call for citizens, call for Africans, and call for to the people of the world to start pushing for more women inclusion in politics, women representation in beyond government, even in the economic and the private sector, because it's one thing to have women in government, another thing to also have women in the economic sector. So what are the policies and the laws to promote women as entrepreneurs? What are the policies or the laws to promote women businesses? What do we have in companies to ensure that women have a safe space to act, to carry out their responsibilities and to work? Because you also have different issues in private sector, even within the civil service, where there is abuse, intimidation and violation of women, either undue demands from them that we don't see happening to the male. It could also be sexual harassment and violence, even cases of rape that are not reported. Those are things that hinder the development of women within the system and the sector. And I think it's time for more conscious and intentional action to be part of our policies, our laws, to promote women in different spaces that they find themselves in, different sectors. Not just that, to also start pushing for a system that closes the gender gaps between men and women, because we can't talk of development if women are still victims. Women economic development, education for girl child, women political inclusion, security for women, and even protecting the rights of the girl child from FGM, right? So it's beyond just it's something it's holistic. It's something that needs to be holistic from the girl child to the woman. Because if we don't build our girl and female children, if we don't invest in building them to become leaders in our society, we lose development in generations to come, because the girl child plays a very significant and central role in creating some sense of stability within our system. And this is beyond just in families but in societies. And if we do not educate the girl child, we're losing generations that we cannot account for. So as we celebrate the International Women's Day, it's time for us to start looking at the issues of girls and women as very important issues that are central to development, sustainable development in our country and beyond. You can't talk of development if you don't promote women, if you don't promote the girl child. You can't talk of development if government or governance does not reflect or have women representation or representatives. We can't talk about moving from where we are to a better nation if women are not playing central role in that. And I think this is a call for everyone to start taking action today.
Excellent delivery. Just before I let you go, on a light note, did you ever dream of getting to where you are today? What inspired you to get to where you are today? Maybe I should let. Are you tired? Standing? Okay.
I think growing up, I'd always wanted to be different, and I don't know. There wasn't any special lessons I went to. I think I grew up in a family where at first we were all girls, and my parents made us believe that the fact that you're a girl doesn't limit you. And I think my dad played a very central and key role in letting us believe that for every day you were born, you were special and you were all amazing. So there was no gender. I grew up learning how to do everything, to wash the car, to change the light bulbs. Because my dad said you had to learn how to be independent, to be self-reliant. So for us, I think growing up, I think my sisters and I, we all grew up to be feminists without even knowing what feminism was. We just knew that our voices needed to be heard. When there's family meeting, everyone's opinion is important. You speak, what do you think the family should be doing? What should we do for Christmas? What should we do for Easter? Everyone had a say. Where do you want to school? What course do you want to read? We were not imposed. It was about you deciding on what you want to do. And I think from there, I started realizing that the fact I never saw my being woman as being a limitation. So it sort of became part of me, and everything I wanted. Growing up, I just wanted to be different. And my dad would say, all of you, you're four, you're girls, you're my daughters, but you're all unique and different, and you should all find your space in the world to take charge wherever you find yourself. That's what makes life worth living. That wherever you are, you're outstanding. Or people would look at you and say, this person is unique. And that was how we all sort of learned that in our space, whether you're in the arts or sciences, you have to stand out there. Whatever you're doing, you have to stand out. Whatever you're doing, cooking, whether washing, doing as little as it may be, as mighty as it may be, you need to stand out. And that was it. And then I went to secondary school. I think I got interested in law and the whole idea on human rights, and it became a passion. And I knew I needed to work in the development sector. I studied law in school, but I always had interest in the development sector, issues on constitutional rights, especially as it deals with promoting the rights of people, not just women. So you see me doing a lot of advocacy for women, for youth, for persons with disability, and then sometimes marginalized communities, depending on where I find myself. Because if we promote an equal society, we promote a sense of ownership. Everyone will see would feel connected to the society. But if we keep enabling marginalization of certain groups, what you'd have would be a section of the society who feel this affection towards the society or towards the majority or towards the system, and it boils down to governance and leadership. Because if you address social inequality, social injustice, you give everyone a sense of belonging. Everyone would have that level of patriotism and faith in the system. So for me, it's beyond, not just about women, youth, it's address social inequality. Who are the victims? How do you address that? Because everyone created is human, and we all are bestowed or endowed with those inherent rights that are indivisible, that cannot be taken away from us. And if you address inequality, social injustice, you promote a system that every citizen or every human being is protected or feels safe to live in and to enjoy those rights that make us human.
May I meet you?
Jaye Gaskia.
Okay. Is that your real name, the Gaskia?
Yes, that's my real name.
Okay. So what do you think about women participation in Nigeria and Africa?
In politics, the trend is not like a uniform trend. Because I mean, when you look at countries like Rwanda, and you look at Uganda, and you even look at South Africa, you will see that the participation of women in politics is higher in those climes, okay? But in countries like Nigeria, in fact, the 2019 general elections, participation of women seem to have declined in terms of, and yet we have a situation where we actually have 91 parties. So one would have thought, one would have expected, that the fact that we have more parties would have opened up the space for greater women participation. But unfortunately, we have more parties, and yet we have a decline in the number of women who are even able to become aspirants, then who are able to pick the tickets of their parties, and then who are able to win elections So
what's responsible for that decline?
It's simple. The system is constraining in terms of what is needed, in terms of the activities. But I think that the most important thing that is required to be done, because if we must learn lessons from Rwanda or from South Africa, the most important thing that we need to do is that policies and laws need to change. But in order for policies and laws to change, women need to organize politically. And when I say politically, it doesn't mean just being members of political parties. It means that we need to have a women's movement that is a political movement in Nigeria that is political but not partisan. In other words, it's not aligned or affiliated to any political party, but it's political in the sense that it is making political demands from political parties and from government. So if we had a women's movement, all the places we are talking about, ANC, there's the ANC women's wing that is very powerful, and so can make demand on the ANC and therefore make demand on the state. So if we have that kind of situation, I would say, just imagine a situation, if we change our laws, and we say, and our electoral laws, and we say that one of the criteria for INEC to accept the list of candidates from a party is to do a simple check that, for example, no gender should constitute less than 40% of your candidates, and no gender should constitute more than 60%. Just simply by doing that, every political party will be forced to ensure that they actually have enough women as candidates, not as aspirants. So we need to have those kind of laws and then enforce them, and that way we are going to increase women's participation.
That's a good recommendation.
Thank you.